As I always tell you, you don't need to know tonight, you have a quorum.
Yeah.
You may begin.
I see it.
Well, good, okay. Meeting of the Millburn Short Hills Business Organization for Thursday, May 12th, 2022. We now call to order. Sorry. Start again. This is the meeting of the Millburn Short Hills Business Organization, Thursday, May 12th, 2022. We're now called to order. Let's start. Tracy, can we have the sunshine compliance, please?
Notice of the time, date, location, and agenda of this meeting, to the extent known, was provided at least 48 hours prior to the commencement of this meeting in the following manner, pursuant to the provisions of NJSA 10-4-6. Notice was posted in Town Hall and the Township's website by notification to newspapers on December 22nd, 2021 of the schedule for 2022, and by providing notice to the Township Clerk.
Thank you, Tracy. Please stand and join me for the salute to the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Monica again.
Here.
Tracy Katz-Levine here. Andrew Morgan.
Here.
Michael Parlavecchio.
Here.
Ashley is not here with us yet. Stephen Weiner.
Here.
Richard Wasserman.
Here.
Jackie Benjamin Lieberberg.
Here.
Jesse Molman.
Here. Okay, thank you, Tracy. The purpose of a special improvement district, the SID, is to promote, grow, and support local businesses, property owners, residents, and visitors. Millburn Township SID ordinance designates a new district management corporation whose mission is to encourage the economic, cultural, and social vitality of Millburn Township through increased marketing and visibility, improved and renewed infrastructure, and local business development and engagement. We now have approval of minutes. Tracy, do we have any minutes for approval?
Yeah, we have April 13th.
Your microphone.
We have April 13th minutes are attached. Did anybody have any questions or comments on those?
No questions or comments. I'd ask for a motion to approve those minutes of April 13th, 2022.
Motion.
And second, please.
Second.
Can we do
We do have three people that were not present. Andrew, yourself, and
okay, so
I wasn't
will
here.
abstain.
yes.
Thanks,
Okay. Do you want me to do a roll call?
please.
vote?
Yeah.
Okay. Jumana Culligan,
Yes.
Tracy Katz-Levine, yes. Ashley is not on yet, but Stephen Weiner.
Yes.
So that's, oh, and Richard, you were not
Abstain.
here. Okay.
And I abstain as well. Okay. Public comments. When invited to speak, please come to the lectern, clearly state your name and address, and speak into the podium microphone so that your comments can be understood by all and properly recorded. If you're reading from a prepared statement, please provide a copy to Tracy Katz-Levine at her exploreMillburnShortHills.org website. Speakers are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes. And if we have anybody who wishes to participate via Zoom, we can bring them in that way as well. And you'll be given the same 3 minutes of time. Anybody in the audience wishing to speak, come on up.
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Feld, live in Alexander Lane, Short Hills, New Jersey. I was struck by what occurred at the last meeting about certain comments, but based on the agenda packet today, I think I understand what was going on. I haven't looked at the audit, but I have some questions regarding some of the footnotes. Because the footnotes were not prepared by the accounting firm, but it says by management. Remember, this is an audit from your 2020 and 2021, where your funding was from an appropriation from the town and not by a special assessment. That's not disclosed. Nor does it disclose that this entity members are appointed, that there's no paragraph about the pending litigation as to the validity of this entity. Remember, you are fiduciaries of a public trust. There's no questions about the September special appropriation. You haven't, you received the monies, but there was questions about how you had to go back twice, because the first time, not you, but the township did not do it properly. Also, there's no comments about whether the budget 2020 and 2021 was properly approved by the local governing body. But I just say that your fiduciaries, this is your report. As to the closed executive session minutes, I'm glad that there will be action later this evening about that. But the question has always been, I've been asking, you had to, there's two steps. One is adopting your closed executive session minutes, and the other step is releasing them to the public. And the question is, did you ever take the first step properly within a reasonable time? Also, you're going to be later today considering adoption of an Oprah policy, which is based on the township's policy. If you look at the ordinance, I think it's around 2014. Much has changed in the world of Oprah since 2014. I'm talking about case law coming out from the state Supreme Court and the appellate division. So you might want to look at that ordinance that you're relying on and changes. Also, I got per fluke on Tuesday this week, a notice appeared regarding a notice of adoption of an ordinance in Summit. What caught my attention was the first time I learned about the closure, because I left early at the last meeting, was at the last city council meeting that the state transportation had denied you the right. But if you look at how Summit did their closure, they did it by ordinance. Talking about, you might want to go upstream to find out whether the closures are being done properly by method of approval and the statute. Because I say that because of the pending litigation, because at the last meeting, TC meeting.
Can I just ask you to start wrapping up?
I will. The BA disclosed that the township's GIF insurer had declined to defend the pending litigation as to the validity.
Again, just not to wade into it, but this entity is not a direct party to that litigation. So I can't speak for what the tax advisors would have put in this report, but we can certainly look into that. I'm glad you did bring up one thing, just because I commented to Mr. Grillo when we were preparing the agenda, that the closed session minutes are on. And I think you, as I'll say a student of public meetings, you're astute to bring that up, because there are organizations that take years and years to put these out. So the fact that we have closed session minutes from the last year and even the last couple of months is pretty good. And the I think reasonable time is case by case on those. Depends if the reason for which you went into a closed session still is valid. So we're doing our best, and we're releasing, as you can see, a number of things. Okay.
Hi, Vicki Powell, 358C Millburn Avenue. First, I'd like to start with happy anniversary to Steve. We're very happy that you've been with us for a year. We're looking forward to the upcoming year and seeing what else you can do and how much you can improve the town, which you've been doing a great job so far. So thank you. I would like to comment about Girls' Night Out. I'm very disappointed that you guys didn't stop the rain, because other than that, it was a very good first Girls' Night Out, bringing back to the downtown and the other districts. I have to tell you, there was a lot of synergy dealing with the other districts. Splurge was working with Evolve. I was working with Splurge. Silk with SLT was working with it. It was just a very well-run event. I think there was a lot of synergy working with other districts and getting them to come down to us or doing virtual. I think Steve said we had over 50 participants, which is really good. Hopefully next year we'll get more people involved. We'll do more things. I think it's very important that they did have a volunteer committee that helps them support them, because there are only 2 people and Amanda's only part-time. She can't do everything. So I think that's very important, because the volunteer committee also gave a lot of ideas that they wouldn't think of and that we didn't think of. So by pooling everyone's ideas, I think it's very important. I think you should, I'm a big proponent of volunteer committees, because there are only two people and you're only what's up here. So I think that's going forward, if we do events, I think that's very important. I just want to say thank you because it was really great. And from my neighbors that I talked to after Girls Night Out, they said, yes, the rain was horrible. It was not helpful, but there were people coming, there were people buying, there were people supporting the small businesses. So I just want to say it was a good showing. So thank you very much.
Ken, just before we move on, I'm glad you mentioned Steve's anniversary, and as you can see from the picture that was posted on Instagram, he was a fresh-faced 22-year-old just out of college when he started with us a year ago.
Yeah, and it's aged him a little bit.
And between pandemics and natural floods, et cetera, he's still here. Happy
Thank you all
anniversary.
for everything, all the support.
Any other members who are here and members of the public wish to speak? Do we have anybody, Jesse, on line?
Hi, good evening, Perry Urso, 514 Millburn Avenue in Short Hills. In reference to the disclosure by our BA from the May 3rd, 2022 TC meeting and your audit listed in the agenda, I asked the following questions. However, I would like to comment to the chair that you mentioned your board may or may not be named in that litigation. However, your entity, you didn't even exist when the lawsuit started. So I think that needs to be clarified. And the township attorney should have put you on notice. So my first question, when did the SID know or should have known that the township JIF would not defend the Bear property management action? Number two, when did the Board of Trustees know or should have known the need of adopt the closed executive session minutes within a reasonable time? Number three, when did this Board of Trustees know or should have known that the marketing director required a written executive contract, executed contract? Number four, when did this board know or should have known that this was subject to an Oprah and Open Public Meeting Act? And number five, what metrics are used to determine a success of an event? In closing, I'd like to say you all are fiduciaries of a public trust appointed by a prior mayor. We will find out at some point what the phrase means, no taxation without representation. Thank you.
Thank you. Jesse, anybody else? No? Okay, so we will conclude public comments. Thank you for offering those. Next, we have our Township Committee report. Richard Russell.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I also want to echo the very good sentiments of Steve being here a year, and it's been a very eventful year. I can't even imagine that it's gone by so quickly, but it was a very eventful year, as everybody knows. Some of the highlights that I've also pointed out on social media were that our vacancy rate has come down a lot. You know, you may argue exactly what the numbers are, but I believe 47, correct me if I'm wrong, I think 47 new businesses have entered the township under your tenure, so which is amazing. And just all the great things that are happening, Girls Night Out as being one of them. So just one of the other things that I pointed out, just to kind of recap, you know, under your tenure, you know, when the chips were down and Ida hit and all of our businesses were, you know, really under pressure, you know, you were out there running around supporting our businesses, you know, and then you facilitated, you know, giving out funds that were really crucial. And that's all because we have a SID. And I don't know what would have happened if we didn't, you know, have this organization in place. So I just wanted to point that out. Also, one of the things that the township is trying to do right now is we're trying to make sure that people prepare for this hurricane season. As everybody knows, you know, the weather pattern, you know, is very, we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but we can guarantee there are more terrible storms coming. So we want to make sure that everybody is prepared for the next storm. Under Steve's leadership, we have produced a hurricane preparedness kit you know, there's a draft. I guess we're gonna, and Steve, tell me something. We were thinking of sending this to all the businesses as a reminder of some of the things that they could do.
Correct. So Richard had asked me to put together a business-centric, very user-friendly document. So I found some really strong resources and abridged them significantly so that people don't have to thumb through them when there may be an emergency happening. And so the idea here behind this document is not only to assess organizational risks in terms of potentially losing electric or not being able to get your workers in, all the things that many of us did encounter after Hurricane Sandy and Ida, but also physical preparations that you can make on your business. And that's both the interior and the exterior. And some of these things you might not necessarily think of when a storm is coming. And so I think this serves as a very good checklist, very simple and easy to use. And that would certainly love everyone's feedback. If you have a chance, give it a second set of eyes and let me know what could be added or if there's any other content. And then once we feel comfortable, we'll distribute this to our entire email distribution list, post this on our website and make it available in our social media link tree. Yeah,
I've already gone through it. It's relatively comprehensive. We also have a lot more information on the township website. You know, I think if you just plug in hurricane, you'll get volumes of information. But I think it's really important, you know, check your insurance, make sure you have an emergency plan in place. And all you have to do is look at what happened during Ida, and I think a little preparation would go a long way. And we never know when the next storm is coming. So, but Steve, thank you for doing that. That was really great. And other than that, in terms of the township, where I think that there's a lot of different things going on. We're looking forward. I know that there's that with the state, there's some issues over Main Street closure, but I am under any circumstance. It's great that we will have a music program. There'll be a lot of engagement for our residents and for our businesses in all the districts. And it's great to have that again this summer. I have a lot of people calling me, hey, where's the free music? When is it happening? And so the buzz is starting to come back to town for the summer. So that is my report.
Thanks, Richard. Anybody have any questions for Richard? If not, we'll move on to the business administrator's report. Jesse, you're up.
So Township held its first public information session for the Taylor Park Gateway project back at the end of March. MKW and Associates has been hard at work working on the design schematics or alternatives that they're proposing for the site. And they're going to show them to the public on June 2nd at 7 p.m. in this room and on Zoom. If it hasn't gone out on our channels, it will the next couple days or next week. So for any business owners that are interested in learning more about that project, I would highly recommend tuning into that session. And it'll be on YouTube, if not that evening, then the days after. And there'll be more information forthcoming on that. In terms of affordable housing, we had public information sessions on April 26th regarding the design of the site with township professionals, including the township planner and RPM, which the township is looking to negotiate with as the developer. In addition to 2 sessions, one in person and one on Zoom on May 3rd and May 5th of this year regarding overlay zones that were also associated with the settlement agreement with Fisher Housing Center. There was also a survey that was put out to the public and closed regarding the design of the project at 9 Main Street. And I would urge all the business owners to continue to follow developments with affordable housing. And if any board members have any questions, they can reach out to myself or Alex. Additionally, since Committeeman Wasserman brought it up with hurricane preparedness, I would also urge all the business owners to sign up for Millburn Alert, which is our reverse 911 system. We had a public information session last night on hurricane preparedness. And as we get into storm season and just generally, it's good for everyone in town, regardless of whether you're a resident or a business owner, you spend a lot of time here, to be caught up and informed if there are going to be road closures related to a storm, if there are emergency alerts going out. Just good for them to be queued in And if anyone has any questions about that, they can refer to the website and the OEM page, which has more information.
And is sign-up information on that OEM page on the website?
So the sign-up information for Millburn Alert is on the homepage, right on the left-hand of the screen under emergency alerts.
Thank you.
And Jesse, the last night, the video, like that was videoed and that's also on the website, or it will be?
Yeah, the video is on YouTube right now, and the presentation, if it's not already up, will be up in the coming days.
And it was excellent. We had the fire chief, I think there was a lot of very good information. So I commend all the staff for putting that together.
And how would you find it on YouTube? Just
So it'll be under the playlist for public information sessions. So you'll search for Township of Millburn, and it'll be either under the most recent video uploaded or under public information sessions. Same with affordable housing and Park Gateway.
Thanks, Jesse. Thank you. Treasurer's report, Stephen.
Yes, thank you. The attachment number 3 shows our expense report, expenses through May 9th. Our account balance on May 9th was $182,081.76. One thing to highlight on the report, the under the holiday seasonal events and live music line item, the amount of annual spend or spent year to date will be reduced because the town will be reimbursing us a small portion, $2,800, $2,890. That relates to Founder's Day expenses. So the town will be, but otherwise we're all in good shape. Year to date spend total is $91,924.54. And the remaining available to spend is $199,600 and change. So, well, one other point I wanted to make, actually, just an update on our tax receipts, because we did have a significant deposit into our bank account. That's why our budget, our account balance jumped up so much to 182,000. Is that we did have a $175,500 deposit, which reflects the tax receipts to date. We're expecting, as indicated on the report, a total of $204,000. So I understand this is about average in terms of where we are in the year and the percentage we've received.
Yes,
so
we've
far.
collected about 86% of the assessment.
Yeah.
That also explains why we have 199,000 remaining, but 182,000 in the bank, is we're still waiting on the remainder of the money.
Correct, yeah.
Steve, can I just ask a question? Is there any issues with collecting those taxes? I mean, is it like just a normal collection?
In speaking to the tax collector, they're actually quite pleased with where we are at this point.
I think that the collection rate is about 99% for the township. I imagine that's in line with what we're seeing.
Well, no, we're at 86% right now.
Oh, but I mean, but we expect a very high collection rate.
Yeah, I think there's only 6 properties that are 6 assessed locations that haven't paid. So it's actually very, very few people that make up that difference of this, whatever it was, that 17, or it's $20,000.
Great, thank you.
Steve, you want to handle the next item? This is the audit and hurricane report.
Yes, absolutely. So we did complete our audit. I just want to read a couple of specific items. The first one's really going to come from the management letter, which was included. So obviously the most important thing is deficiencies. It's noted here, we noted no specific deficiencies or material weaknesses during our procedures. However, during the audit, we became aware of matters not deemed a significant deficiency or material weakness that present opportunities to strengthen internal controls and improve operating efficiency. The memorandum that accompanies this letter summarizes those. And so I just want to address those because I think they are probably apparent to everyone, but it's important that we let the public know. And so there were 3 comments from the auditor. The first one being, as Mr. Feld mentioned earlier, that Marla Itzkin did not have a contract when she was hired. Obviously, that is correct, and that has been rectified. And you'll notice in the comments here, it'll say recommendation and then management response. And so obviously she did not have a contract. However, she does not work here anymore, and her replacement, Amanda Dean, does have a contract. So that has been rectified. And then there was 2 questions on supporting documents. The first one was that prior to May of 2021, there were some receipts that were not available for the auditor, which because we didn't have an executive director, and I'm sure things got lost in the flow of life. And so we don't have complete records going back, which we wouldn't argue with anyway. But going forward, everything has been kept well, and so the auditor had no issue in the last year. Secondly, and I think this is important for us to address in terms of internal controls, is that while the documentation for Hurricane Ida funds was found to be satisfactory, what they did recommend going forward is anytime we have a grant program, that we actually write a memo for every approval. We typically only do it when we deny someone. They suggested, just for the records, to have a memo included as to why funding was awarded and that process. So I think that's a good recommendation. We can certainly do that going forward. And that concludes it. I think it was a very clean audit all around.
Anybody have any questions on the audit for Steve?
And thank you, Stephen, for doing this on a monthly basis as our treasurer.
Well, I guess, did you want to talk about here, Steve, the remaining funds?
Sure. So we have 2 separate bank accounts with Investors Bank. One is our general operating fund, and the other is a fund that was established for donations. And so there's $10,000 in that account. We have an obligation through our MOU with the town to allocate $5,000 towards the audit, right? Because this audit is not only our general operating, but also our Hurricane Ida. So $5,000 will come out of that account to pay for that work. That leaves $5,000. I spoke to the bank and asked them, what is the minimum balance to keep in that account? They responded $2,500. And so in speaking with the executive committee, we had suggested perhaps closing that account, moving the $10,000 over to general operating, paying the $5,000 for the audit out of the general operating, and then allocating the remaining $5,000 to a program related to hurricane relief. We had talked about the microgrant program at our last meeting. The executive committee would like to do some more work. Amanda will talk about that, but we can certainly use that money towards a portion of the microgrant program that would go to hurricane affected businesses. So I think just in terms of managing our money and making sure that it's not just sitting there, we should close the account and then move the money over and then spend it as I described. So I would like, so I'm requesting permission to do that.
Anybody have any questions or comments on that?
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. Do we need a motion for that, or just to close an account?
I'd recommend it just in the context that it came up at the meeting tonight.
Yeah, but not a formal resolution.
You don't need a documented, memorialized resolution.
Okay, a motion then to close that account. I can have a motion, please.
Move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? We've acted.
Exciting stuff. Thank you.
That's it. We love parliamentary procedure. Okay, moving on. Is that, I'm sorry, Steve, that was it, right? Closed it out. Marketing and events report, Amanda, you're up.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, Amanda. Okay, so it's been a busy few months and specifically a very busy last month or so. So I know Vicki already brought up Girls Night Out. I just want to give a few notes on it, on what happened. We had entertainment lined up. We had living silver topiary statues that went to 3 different businesses and spent time there. They went to Teen Skin, to Karamia, and to Garden State Hemp. We had a DJ, we had psychic visions from local psychic Chris on Main Street. We also had some live figure drawing with Green Door Studio, who just moved in above Springbone. And let's see, we had poetry, haikus from others, and a few other things. So we had a lot going on, plus, as Vicki said, so we had 50 businesses participate. And they participated from all 5 of the SID districts. which was just wonderful. And we also had really great volunteer support. I agree with Vicky. It's really great to have stakeholder input and assistance with these things. And so Vicky was on the event committee, Nadej from the Book House, Sam from Evolve Med Spa, Jean from SLT My Skin, and Kelly from Real Style Exchange. So they were all really helpful and gave a lot of time and energy and ideas. And Jackie from the House Salon also put in some time as well. As I mentioned, we had 50 merchants participate. Just a few statistics. 22% of them were outside of the downtown Millburn CID district. And 48% of them, a total of 24, came from outside of the downtown core, that Millburn Ave to Lackawanna and, around Essex. So I'm really happy about that. And I know Steve is, so I think we're really heading in a good direction. And they all offered different promotions, specials. They had activities, in-house raffles, tastings. So it was a really nice variety of items. I still have that up on our website under events, and it shows all the businesses and how they participated. Some chose to have virtual promotions if they couldn't be open or had some other issues. And we persevered through the rain, which was, it was a bummer, but it was still a nice evening. And what I'm doing is I've already sent a survey out to all of the merchants that participated in the event to collect their feedback on what the experience was like for them, how their sales were, and things that we could do moving forward to improve or expand upon the event. So speaking to how you measure the success of an event, there are some key factors. I would say merchant participation, attendance, and sales would be some of them. And so we will have a lot of that data, and I'll look forward to continuing to collect data like that moving forward with our events so we can ensure they're successful and having the right impact. As far as this event moving forward, we have a lot of things to discuss once we have that feedback, but also how to handle the weather. Should it be a few days? When should it be? Those types of things. We also had a wonderful gift basket raffle that the committee was very helpful with putting together. And so I think that kind of sums up what happened. I don't know if anyone has any questions before I move on.
Any questions or comments? No, go ahead, Amanda, continue.
Okay, great. Just coming up in general, I'm working on a draft for a overall merchant survey on the tools and resources and trainings merchants feel they need, the best communication methods to work with them, and how they can participate in events moving forward. So I'll be drafting that over the next few weeks, working with the marketing committee to finalize it, and then that'll go out either the last week in May or the first week in June. And that will also help inform the decisions we make on the trainings and other resources we choose to bring to the merchants. And then just a couple quick statistics. I've been here almost 3 months. And in that time, our Instagram followers have increased by 8.3%, which is really nice. We've had 50% more accounts that we've had engagement with. We've had 98 posts, 803 stories, 14 reels, and 5 Instagram TV videos. And in the last 30 days, we've reached 7,643 accounts as of this morning. That's up 47% from the previous 30 days. So it's clear to me that we're heading in the right direction marketing-wise, and really happy with the events and other items we've had to engage people via social media. So I just wanted to give you those few statistics for now. And that's all I have at this time.
Thank you, Amanda. Anyone have any questions or comments for Amanda?
I have one
Go ahead.
question, and maybe it's either for Amanda and or Steve. Are we, and I've brought this up before, now that we're now that we're really executing on social media, we're really expanding our reach. Are we going to look at print at all in terms of magazines? I know that there are a lot of really nice local magazines that reach into the county or the area. And I understand that some of the print advertising is actually pretty reasonable. So just to cover all of our bases, I'm wondering whether we should really look into putting aside some money for print advertising, so we can extend our reach into this area.
I can answer that. So we looked into a lot of those things. What has happened with just the past few events is sometimes the time frame does not allow for some traditional marketing platforms. So I definitely am looking into print, radio, transit, all other types of marketing opportunities for us. And we did a lot of digital this time because that's what we were able to do. But I absolutely believe in kind of coming at it from all ends. So we'll be doing that in the future.
And just for jumping in so quickly and just working really hard over these couple of months and making a lot of the ideas happen. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Amanda.
I'll third that. Thank you.
And we hope your foot feels better.
It's elevated right now.
Keep it elevated.
Keep it elevated.
All right, next up, we have our executive director report. Steve.
Actually, Jackie's going to talk about it.
Okay, let me
Sorry.
talk about Founding Day. Founding Day was held on April 30th. Explorer really stepped up and assisted CETA and all the other local committees are on the day's event. The day was divided into both a morning and afternoon session. Amanda created all the marketing collateral, signage, and designed multiple banners for the Art Alley, which we'll talk about very shortly. Steve coordinated all the public beautification projects that went on during the morning. Power washing on Upper Millburn, the installation of 6 new Ace of Heart rosebuds in the downtown and Upper Millburn, the mulching of 50 tree pits in downtown and Upper Millburn, and this creation of our Art Alley. I'd like to thank and recognize the Ganella team at Weichert and the Boy Scout Troop 17 and 19 from St. Rose, their leaders Jim McKenna and Dan Cannon, for leading the community cleanup effort throughout the town, all throughout the morning. The afternoon activities at Bauer were really designed for all of our residents of all ages to participate. Leading that charge was the Millburn Short Hills Historical Society, the Green Team Environmental Commission. There were hands-on activities for calligraphy and also a milkweed planting for butterfly habitats. There was also some native planting activities that took place around Bauer as well. I'd like to give a special thanks to Historical Society for all their hard work and a shout out to Dorothy Kelly for her leadership. I would also want to add that we had live Victorian music from Florian Chance jazz performance. There were historic tours going out throughout the day. There was an opportunity to meet one of Millburn's founding families, the Condits. Israel and Carolyn were on premises. And last but not least, we collected quite a bit of non-perishable food for our own food pantry for our own local residents. For those that attended, you were also given a reusable bag. As everyone knows, paper is out in all of New Jersey, so these will come in handy. And I would just like to give a special thanks to the Township of Millburn and our own DPW for all their assistance. Thank you.
Thanks, Jackie. Thanks for all your hard work and vision on that. Vision first, for sure.
Now it's my turn.
Now it's your turn. Go ahead, Steve.
So the first thing is actually going to be under the marketing and events report line. There is an emerging issue that needs to be discussed concerning home-based businesses and pop-up shops. So obviously, as a SID, we represent the businesses and property owners that pay into the assessment. And so there's a finite group of people. When we do these large events and when we team with partners such as the Chamber of Commerce, who are wonderful partners, I need to add, they've been extremely supportive. There comes a time where businesses that are not within the SID, who do not pay the SID assessment, want to participate. And some merchants have reached out to me and said, we need to think about what is our policy to deal with this. What are other SIDs doing? So I actually spoke to 4 of my colleagues in Union, South Orange, Cranford, and East Hanover, and they're all experiencing the same thing. Coming out of COVID, we know that there's an enormous number of new businesses, pop-ups, home-based businesses, crafters, et cetera. And that's great. It's good for the local economy, but it does sometimes clash with the mission and the obligations of the city. And so in speaking to those folks, I asked them, what do you typically do? And their response was, well, we're trying to figure that out as well. But they've all said they charge a nominal fee to businesses if they want to participate. They ensure that there's no conflicts with existing businesses. Now, we have over 350 retail type businesses in the SID. So you're pretty much guaranteed to have a conflict. And then they don't offer them physical or exterior locations, right? So you have to be within another business, which of course, if you're a private business operating here and you want to have a pop-up shop with a supplier or someone else, that's your business and you can do it. And so I think it would be important for this board to give myself and Amanda formal direction as to how we want to approach this. I think the best thing to do is to set up at least the parameters, say, if a business is in any way conflicting with any of our SID members, we will not allow them to participate. I think that's probably a good way to begin assessing the demand. And I think that's just the simplest path and path of least resistance. But what I would love to get your feedback, and especially feedback from Jumana and Stephen, who are merchants in the district.
I have a quick, well, I mean, like you said, Steve, there's, I don't know what number was, but hundreds of retail businesses in town. And I'll use, Splurge as an example. If one of these home businesses that you mentioned, like there's all these at-home bakers, let's say, and they want to participate in an event, would that conflict with Splurge? I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's other bakeries and I don't know. Is that the type of thing that you're talking about?
Yeah, I think that's pretty common. I think, you also run into a situation where you have some of these home-based vendors who, especially local ones, who sell to our local stores. And so they are selling their materials in our own brick and mortar retailers. I think where it becomes really dicey is offering them private space, shall we say, right? A table on a sidewalk. I think what we might want to encourage is if you're a home-based business and you have a relationship with a brick and mortar vendor in the SID, use that to your advantage. There's nothing that we can't stop that. We wouldn't, you're a private business. You have the right to host a pop-up shop if you like. And some of our businesses do that and, quite effectively. And so I think it's a question of, do we want to sort of put a blanket ban when it comes to conflicts, or do we want to say, we as an entity will not be organizing, supporting, or giving space, but if you want to go and place yourself within one of these brick and mortars, that's to your discretion and the discretion of the business owner.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jumana.
No. Go ahead, Tracy. I'm just kind of mulling it all over my head, to be honest.
It was also like a clarifying question. Like, I'm just trying to even understand the scenario. So is this, for example, at a girls' night out type event? I guess I'm trying to understand in what type of situations are we being asked, can we be included? Like for
it's mainly those types of events. So
it's like
girls' night out,
events.
the sip and stroll back on April 2nd.
What about Founders Day? I believe there was some was there vendors or something happened? There was an event recently where I did see some home businesses involved. I'm trying to remember what they were though. Was it Founders Day? I don't know. but
No, Founder's Day, we did not have any
Right.
home base.
wasn't, maybe, okay.
I mean,
Maybe,
obviously, there was the street fair, which is a chamber-run event where I believe people are buying. I mean,
Correct.
that's out of
And
our.
we're not involved in any way,
But
shape, or
I
form.
guess there's two
Yeah.
things I want to ask. One is, and you mentioned this, we've been doing some nice partnerships with the chamber, but that gets tricky, right? Because I mean, the chamber is a paid membership organization that anybody can join. You don't even have to be located in Millburn. So that's, I'm just a question. If we're co-sponsoring something with the chamber, we can say, well, we explore, because yeah, I mean, I agree. My gut is, yeah, for anything that's an explore specific event, we should not be allowing people that don't have a brick and mortar assessed location at our event. Again, if they want to coordinate, like if somebody wants to have, you know, their jewelry pop up in Taste Buddy, I'm just making it up, then that's between those folks.
Right.
However, if we're co-sponsoring something with the chamber, that gets a little tricky. If there's two parties coordinating the event, we could be saying no, but then the chamber could be saying yes. So I guess that's one question. The other.
Well, that's what I'd like to get out in the open,
Well,
so that the
that's-
chamber knows what the expectation is,
But
correct?
that's really tricky.
It is.
Because if someone is a member of, I mean, first of all, I don't think, I mean, they have to have their own guidelines, but if somebody is not in the SID and they're not a member of the chamber, I wouldn't think they should be able to be at a co-sponsored event. I guess the question is, if somebody is a paid member of the chamber, but not within the SID, and we're co-sponsoring an event with the chamber, I don't think we could prevent that entity from being there.
that's possible too, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Say again, couldn't hear you.
No, I was just agreeing with you, Tracy. I think that's
Yeah.
probably true, yeah.
And then I have a
So I was gonna
question.
ask just questions about, all right, so let's pick a upcoming, let's think it through, right? A project or an event. What's the next event? Do we know, in the fall or?
Let's use Girls Night Out as an example,
Girls' Night
because
Out
I
as
think
an
that's
example.
a classic example of a one place at one time event where people are looking for a physical setup.
And did people request, people
Yes.
not in the SID called you guys
Yes,
and said, we would like to have a setup in town?
correct.
What does a setup mean? Like physical
Table.
presence on the street? or
Yeah,
in
a
another
table on
Table.
a sidewalk.
A table on the sidewalk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
My-
some
my
were
feeling
chamber
would be-
members, some were not.
I don't think that's our constituents.
No, no, I think in that scenario,
But,
Yeah.
but there's another angle that I see that's pretty relevant, that we should consider, which is our social media, our website. You know, there are people that might be working from their home. It could be an accountant, a jeweler. I mean, it could be a home-based business. And the question, I mean, one of the things I would think about is, you know, if they wanted to join us at some membership amount, couldn't we offer them, you know, couldn't we offer them some representation in terms of a search on our website that they're found or?
No,
or
I-
I
That
think we're pretty
feels
specific.
Out of our
I don't
scope.
think-
That is out of our
That's
scope.
we're a creature of an ordinance and we've
Yeah.
got a particular.
Mission.
We have
Yeah.
hundreds of,
Yeah.
I mean.
I don't think it's
differences.
for every resident or even every business in. this
I think what the cleanest thing may be is we recognize that whether it's us or the chamber, we're the entity that's receiving the request. If we agree as a board to say, no physical space on the street, we're not helping you coordinate, we will tell you, listen, this is not something that we do. However, there's nothing stopping you from calling one of our local businesses and asking to set up a pop-up shop for the event. In fact, it may even enhance one of those businesses.
Sure.
And
I
so,
agree. Yeah.
And that's something we want to do.
and then it's up to the individual
except what
business.
And then
about
they
the
could collaborate,
competitive
yeah.
issue there?
Right.
So we had an issue, we explored, and that's
Yes.
why we couldn't attend Founder's Day. So we were at Rutgers, they had Rutgers Day and we set up our tent and we were selling that day, beautiful day. Rutgers dining service was giving away cupcakes on the other side of the mall where we were. And we literally saw people walk by and say, oh, don't buy there, they're giving away free cupcakes down
Oh,
there.
my God.
So, and we paid for our spot. We paid
Oh.
hundreds and, you know, it's
That's not-
expensive to
that's not
buy
good,
and be able to be there to sell. So even in that scenario, I'm not sure we should say it's up to you guys, because what if, and I don't want to just be speaking for bakeries, but a competitive business,
Yeah.
truly, it's like a bullseye thing. And during ladies night out, girls night out, you know, a store, what if we were open and trying to sell things and then right down the street, somebody else is selling very
Yeah.
competitive.
And it'd be a
I'm not sure.
disadvantage for
Well,
all
I
of
think
us.
That
Yes.
almost
Yeah.
sounds like if a jewelry stores, went out and bought 24 donuts and said, for everybody who comes in, you have donut, something.
Well, it's different
The
because that,
Rutgers thing's a little bit of a different.
well, here, no, this is a home-based business, a home-based bakery, trying
Well,
to
that's-
sell their products,
Yeah,
not
it's different.
giveaways.
Sell is different.
Yeah.
The other thing, just from a liability of Explore, if let's
that's a good
stretch
point.
this out. The home-based cookie is sold on the street and, or maybe not a cookie, or it's got somebody has a peanut allergy and there's a problem, who's the liability?
They come after us,
They come after,
Explore.
right, and it's not something that we can control or have any kind of, we need to be cognizant of within our boundaries and our jurisdictions.
Right. Obviously, our first obligation is to the businesses and property owners
Yes.
that pay towards our assessment.
Right.
I don't foresee this problem going away because it's an emerging industry. But I think that if we have a position that is firm and clear, then we can avoid this issue going forward. And it seems to me that we just take a very hands-off approach and say, if you're not a business in the SID, we don't participate with you in any way regarding an event.
Can I
And
give
it's
you?
up to them to decide.
I'll give you an example of what happened for us. It was a home-based vendor who sells at our store, heard about Girls Night Out, and they approached me and they said, can we bulk up your inventory for the event? So I think that's kind of the best way to approach it, so, and do it that way. So I think we're all in agreement though, right? Sounds like we're on the same page.
Can I just clarify one thing? I still feel a little unclear on, that part does seem clear, right? That we're just SID businesses at SID events and we take a hands-off approach if they want to pursue another idea. Two things I just want to say. One is I'm still a little confused if we're co-sponsoring an event with the chamber.
Mhm.
And this, I would like to get to this specific scenario where somebody is not, and I don't know how many businesses there are, but I know there are some. Right,
So-
if there's a business that is
somewhat.
a member of the chamber, sorry, I have to finish that sentence. You can't read my mind?
Or your lips.
Or my
for
lips.
that
Or
matter.
your
Where
lips,
they're
which is my
not-
bigger problem.
They're not in the SID,
Yeah.
but they're a member of the chamber. And we're partnering with the chamber. I'm trying to think of an example, but I know there are businesses in the chamber that are not even, that are members of the chamber that are not even in Millburn, for example.
Sure, so the Hilton is a member,
Okay.
right? So the Hilton in Short Hills is a
Okay.
member of the
So,
chamber. They're
right.
obviously not a member of the SID. If the chamber is co-sponsoring, and whether they're providing financial support or manpower, or just marketing support, right? It's a fair question, right? So let's say the Hilton says we want to have a table downtown that promotes our business. Well, there's no hotel that competes with them. So I would say, well, they're a chamber member, but they're not in the SID, but they also don't offer any competition to any of our businesses. To me, that's a clean move. And so I don't mind making this very strict. I just want to make sure that we have clarity about what that strictness is. But I think that's there's examples like that.
So in that combination, it's on a case by case.
So
Let's see
maybe-
if there's a conflict.
Yeah.
Hotel, easy one.
Right.
Some other product, maybe. it's
Yeah,
different.
I don't know how many businesses fall into that category, so maybe it is a case by case basis. I guess my other question, this may be longer term, and I know Steve and I have chatted about this. And I don't really know the answer to this question of how successful is if people have been in the general store cooperative in Maplewood,
Yeah.
which is a cooperative of lots of these entrepreneurs and businesses, a really wide array, including a baker, including a cheese guy, including people who make jewelry and make lots of things. Do other businesses in town feel like it's a competitor, or do they feel it brings in more traffic? Is it successful in and of itself? Again, I feel like this is a longer term question, but is there an opportunity
Well,
here?
I
I
think
guess
that-
is the question.
I think the
Is there an
simplest answer
opportunity?
to that question is if there was a cooperative located in a storefront within the SID, they would charge the SID assessment. And so I don't go around telling what businesses can sell and don't sell. And so
Right.
from that perspective, I don't think there'd be any conflict. It's just capitalism at that point. But yeah, and so I think that hurdle is actually quite easy to jump. It's more about, do we think that there's a demand?
Well,
Which
it
is a
is
separate
there a
question, yeah.
demand? But again, knowing it's our role to support all of our current businesses, I don't know the answer to this, right? Would it be, I know somebody could come up with the idea and do it. The question is it an opportunity? Is there a lot of upside or is there a lot of downside? I'm not expecting us to talk about this now, but just something in the future, because we just see it out there. And if there were a lot of positives, is it something that we might want to play a role in? Or, right, is it just, be neutral on it? I don't know. It's kind of a rhetorical question, unless anyone has any strong feelings or insights about that. I know it's a little bit of a tangential question.
No, I think there's a lot of value to that type of use.
Mhm.
You need a pretty specific space. We have a handful that I can think of off the top of my head that might make sense, but I think that's fine. Having a cooperative space is really no different than having a one-store storefront, right? Because they're paying into the city. The question here is what happens when there's a business not paying into the CID, not paying into the chamber, or paying into the chamber that's also a conflict.
And they would be out, right? So it's
Yeah.
easy to say, we will not co-sponsor an event unless here's our policy. Only members of both organizations are allowed. If there's some direct
Right.
hits on, we can, if they're both members, it's hard to like say one's out or one's in. You can't really,
Well, they're
I don't
members
think-
of both organizations, or they're members of one? or
of
the
even
other?
one, like what do you do?
One of the,
Yeah, one or the other.
Right, so you have no last minute add-ons at the chamber.
Well, it's also a control factor. You know who's participating
Yeah.
because of.
girls' night out, right? We have, obviously along Millburn here, we have a lot of clothing boutiques that participate. If a chamber member from Livingston is a women's clothing boutique, well, yeah, they're a chamber member, but they also compete with 6 stores here. So we would say, no, they check one box, but not the other, and they have to check 2. So that's the kind of guidance that I'm looking for from you guys as a group, right? I want to make sure.
So
we're all
need to
agreeing.
belong to both, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Just trying to come up with a
I hate
policy.
to belabor this. I feel like that's gonna be
No,
tough.
hold on,
It-
just,
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, just to finish up. I don't think it was belong to both. I think
No,
it's
one or the
belong
other.
to one or the other. And if you
Right.
only belong to, let's say, the chamber, but you're in conflict with something else, then that excludes you.
I
You have to be either a member of one of the organizations
And not competing.
and not compete.
I think ideally that's what we would like. Again, it may be such a small number of businesses. I just think that's
Right,
gonna be
right.
problematic. If I'm an active member, paying member of the chamber, and the chamber is having events, I think the members of the chamber would expect to be able to be part of the events. We may be talking about such a small number, but
We are talking about a very small number.
Yeah,
I think there
so
was
we're maybe
5
moot
that
at
came
this
up with,
point. it may be.
So this is
Um,
kind of the exception.
It's the exception, but I also, part of my job is to think about the future, right? And I see an emerging industry. And I speak
Yeah.
to other CID directors who say, yeah, this is an issue in my town too. And I have merchants who call me up and tell me this is something that concerns them. And so
Yeah.
I have to bring that to you guys. And I think that certainly my conversations with the executive director of the chamber should reflect this. And I think she'll be fine with this type of recommendation because it serves everybody. But I think we just need some real parameters, because to treat this on an event by event basis just gets very confusing. If the chamber and Explore can express our rules up front, like anything else, it makes the final decision much easier.
Can this be fleshed out a little more in subcommittee and brought back to us for an
Sure,
approval?
I can certainly have a conversation with the
think
chamber.
I think this is the type of issue that should be thrashed out on a subcommittee basis, where it's thought out a little bit and brought back to us for a resolution or a vote of some sort. I agree, we should have
Policy.
we should have a policy,
Yeah.
but for us to go back and forth,
Good point.
here is not the right.
So is that what we have a business development?
So we have we have the advisory committee,
Oh,
which
the
is
advisory.
established in our bylaws. We
Right.
actually meet in about 10 days. I'll certainly bring it to them. And I think that's a great sounding board. There's 15 of them. Let's hear what they have
And
to say.
bring it back and let's.
Yeah,
let's
and
vote.
certainly my individual conversations with other merchants as well. But this is, we don't have an event between now and our June meeting, so there's no conflict. And because we've had 3 in 5 weeks. So Amanda and I are tired, but yeah, we will, I'll certainly cultivate some responses and things, but because I just do think this is an emerging issue that we need to figure out.
I don't need to beat a dead horse, but I'll go back to my food scenario question. So if we had, vendors at a
Molman's Muffins.
at an event, they would have to.
I'm an ideas man, Jesse. That's you, buddy.
Short-lived, if I remember.
Yeah, where Socorro is.
I've been here a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, so they would also have to have some kind of, wouldn't they have to have a health permit with the, so.
Even if you were like a food truck there for a
Yes,
temporary
so-
thing.
So I believe there was a state law passed for food businesses that are home-based. And I believe there are some exceptions where they don't need a health inspection, but they need to provide a warning saying that they were not inspected by a local health.
That is correct.
Yes.
That is correct?
Yep.
Okay,
And so that would solve the issue. However, you would have to make sure that they have that warning if they are not being inspected by a health department at the event. And that would be something that you would probably want to consider whether food businesses are excluded or not for that reason.
okay,
Well, this is very helpful. Thank you.
food for thought.
Nice.
It also
Muffins.
segues to my next topic of discussion, which is the advisory committee. So as I mentioned, we're meeting actually on the 23rd on Upper Millburn Avenue with one of our committee members. And we're going to talk about a variety of items, marketing, event integration, as well as thinking about digital sales. That's a big thing that's come up, and integrating gift cards and some other things. And I'm working on some stuff behind the scenes that I'll bring to you at our June board meeting regarding that item. So that's been successful. We've had 3 meetings. Well, this is our 3rd meeting so far. The group has been well attended. Jackie was at our last meeting. I think Tracy's going to attend our next one, schedule permitting. And so a really good group, and I'm glad we got them together. And I'm glad we amended the bylaws to make it a little bit more inclusive. Then the townwide signage committee. So this is something I've mentioned a handful of times. I'm working with some local folks, including Paper Mill Playhouse, Jesus Nunez, the Historic Preservation Commission, and as well as the Creative Collective. And we are working right now on 7 welcome signs for the SID district. These are going to be really nice sort of brick platform with welcome to Millburn Short Hills on them. They'll be illuminated, there'll be vegetation. This would be something that the township would have to pay for. But they'll be permanent and they'll be the town's forever. We've got a really great design that Mark Robeson from the Creative Collective has put together. We've selected 7 strategic locations, all 5 districts having one of these welcome signs. And we're going to put the finishing touches on that, and then we'll share them with this committee, and then we'll take them to the township committee and ask for their opinions on what we're doing from a design perspective. I think they are very fitting this town. They are classic, they are understated, yet they are effective. And so Mark did an incredible job. I think we've picked really good locations for it. And so probably over the next 3 or 4 weeks, you'll begin to see those, and then hopefully we'll bring them to the township committee over the summer for your feedback.
Yeah. Are we going to try to target putting them in place for the fall?
I think the fall might be a little ambitious, probably winter.
Okay.
Because there's going to have to be a procurement process, design process, materials.
Yeah.
They're pretty large, so they'll be at least probably about the size of this desk, depending on where they go. Obviously, each location has a slightly different size requirement, but that's what we're working through right now.
It'd be nice to have that in place for the holiday season. If it was going to work out, I mean, my 2 cents would be, September, October to have it in place, so we at least get the benefit of it by the end of the year.
Yeah, we've been trying to fast track this,
Yeah.
and I'm quite actually surprised at how good the committee is working. It's just small enough to be effective. Also, this is going to be a precursor to pedestrian scale wayfinding signs that many communities have, highlighting recreational locations, retail locations, historic sites, et cetera. This design platform that we're putting together now will inform that hopefully in 2023. That one's a little bit more complex. There's a lot more that goes into it, but Tracy's been thinking about it since we've started the website because she has a whole list of places that need to be on street signs. So I think this committee's been great. I think the product is going to be very impressive, and I hope it sets a good precedent for the pedestrian scale signage in 23. So I have that for you guys. And then I do, as I've been doing at each meeting, going through the success tracker for the year. So you guys have that as attachment 5. There's a lot of green on this list, which is the color code for completed. So very happy to share that. And I just want to go through some photos in case people have not had a chance. Jesse, if you'd be so kind. Actually, he's gonna stand over here so I can see it. And so since our last meeting in April, we've completed a number of different projects. So we've had 5 ribbon cuttings in the last month, including K&Co at Short Hill Station, Springbone, President's Club Barbershop, and Goldberg's Deli in downtown, and Tiger Schulman's Mixed Martial Arts on Upper Millburn Avenue. The next slide shows you the Millburn Art Alley. So this was our major project for this year, creating an incredible pedestrian space. I think really a true statement piece for this town. This was actually originally recommended in our downtown parking study last year, but activating this corridor between the parking deck on Essex Street and Millburn Avenue. And so we did that. And we've created 3 murals, including one developed by the CETA Group, which is that large mural you see in the background behind the chest. That's 45 paintings by local children and their thoughts and feelings on Ida, which was done at a CETA meeting back in December. And then we also have a giant chess set, a bocce court, a Connect 4 board, high top tables, bistro tables, 3 Ace of Heart maple trees that we planted, and then overhead lighting, which matches the lighting on Main Street. So in the evening, it is illuminated for the public. I think this is really a site that will challenge other pedestrian malls throughout New Jersey. This is a really beautiful space. So thank you to all the people that made that possible, including the Department of Public Works, who did an incredible amount of work. You go to the next slide, Jesse. This is the spring cleaning work. So it's been a busy month in terms of trying to clean up the town. So we repaired and mulched over 50 tree pits and other spaces in downtown and Upper Millburn Avenue. We planted 3 additional trees, which you see at the bottom there where the sidewalk was in disrepair. We mulched it and put planters with trees. And then we also, then we added, we did the power washing on Upper Millburn Avenue from Short Hills Avenue to Baltus Roll Road. So that's been cleaned for the summertime. And then there was you see up at the top left there, there was holes in the brick in the sidewalk, which is aging. We repaired those kinds of things. So a lot of it was kind of broken windows theory of just trying to clean up some of those eyesores. Next slide, Jesse. Then Founding Day, as Jackie mentioned, not much to add. She did a very comprehensive job there, but thanks again to the Ganella team, which was one of our sponsors there up in the top middle. They had the whole family out, including little kids, and they did all of Upper Millburn Avenue as well as Farley Place. And then of course the Boy Scouts and that dog who were really helpful. So we go to the next slide. Girls Night Out, as Amanda covered. I don't know if anybody saw the living topiary statues, but up in the upper right, that was certainly one of the coolest things I've ever seen. The makeup was fascinating. You couldn't tell where the costume ended and the woman began. So that was really neat. And then at the bottom left there, we do have a selfie box, which is now in front of Saigon Cafe. So it's branded with Explore Millburn Short Hills in the backdrop. And that's going to be moving around every 3 weeks or so. We already have reservations through the middle of August. So that's going to be at businesses throughout the 5 districts. We already have Upper Millburn Avenue, downtown, Short Hills Station booked. And so we're really excited about that. I think it's going to be a really cool marketing opportunity to brand the town, brand businesses, and expand our social media presence. And I think, was that it? Oh, then the one thing I just wanted to mention, so we do have a number of events and projects coming up. We're going to be installing hydrangeas in the 7 planters that we own on Morris Avenue. So that's going to be happening probably this week. And then if approved tonight, we're going to be now taking control of the 14 large planters that are downtown that were part of the Complete Streets program. The Town Beautification League, if you recall at our last meeting, asked us to take over that. The scope of the project was decreased significantly down to just 14, which is fine. And then I went out and got some bids. And so what you see tonight will be the appropriate bid. And if you approve that tonight, we'll proceed with that. We also were donated 25 planters that are currently up at Giro Park. That was from Greenwood Gardens, gave them to the Town Beautification League. The Town Beautification League never used them and gave them to us. So as the spring goes or summer goes, we can debate whether we want to put them out and plant them, but it's nice to have 25 planters because they cost a fortune. So that's a nice surplus to have.
Are they equally large in scope?
They're 18 inches high. So they're about this. There's actually right out in front of Town Hall here, there's a couple that are about that size. So they all match, which is nice. So, you know, the Town Beautification League is putting out most of their plantings, I believe, this weekend. They'll be on Upper Millburn, they'll be in Short Hill Station. And so after they finish, I'm gonna go out and see where there's some gaps. We can certainly fill those. But it's nice to know that they're there. And then the final thing, well, two more things, I apologize. We were authorized by the town to develop and place decals on all of the parking pay stations. So there's some confusion from merchants and visitors. 15 minutes is free parking in town, but you do have to put your license plate into the kiosk. And so many people don't know that because it says 15-minute free parking, and then it says pay at station. So it conflicts. And I brought this to Alex's attention. He said, if you can solve it, do it. So Amanda is currently developing stickers that will go on each of these, and we will explain that you have to do that, otherwise you'll get a ticket. And hopefully that problem will be eliminated. And then we also have a ribbon cutting on May 20th at 4 p.m. at Adore Salon on Essex. And then we have a merchant mixer May 25th at 5:30 at J. Nunez Gallery. That'll be our spring mixer. So we got a lot going on. And I think it was a very successful month since we last met. So that is my report. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Steve. We have a segment for board member reports or comments. If anybody has any comments on anything at all. What we've already discussed. Anyone? Okay. Then we'll move on to our attorney's report with Mr. Cooper.
Counting on several more minutes to prepare my comments on the open policy. Per the agenda, I'm going to discuss the OPRA policy. That is the resolution that's in your packet. I believe it's at attachment 8. And this was discussed at the prior meeting in April. Explore is subject to OPRA, which is the Open Public Records Act. It does permit the public anonymously or otherwise to request public records. It's not every single document you may possess, it's only government records. It's defined. I'm not going to belabor the definitions, but you are subject to that and you have to produce those documents. Typically, those documents are readily at hand. It's not very burdensome or cumbersome to get those documents, but occasionally you do get requests that are quite intensive in resources to collect documents. And it is collecting documents. I will emphasize there's no research component. You do get requests that ask you to opine on information, answer questions, make subjective determinations. None of those are valid requests. It's really simply you need to specify what document you're looking for. And if it's a government record and it's in your possession, you'll turn it over. But when those requests become burdensome and a nonprofit entity like Explore has limited resources, you have a fiduciary obligation to manage those resources responsibly. Your resources aren't supposed to be dedicated to answering public records requests. As we all know and read the mission statement at the top of every meeting, the mission is to further the economic development of the SID's 5 districts. Township of Millburn has an existing ordinance that, in my opinion, complies with existing case law on how and when fees can be imposed for OPRA requests that are particularly intensive. My recommendation is to incorporate that ordinance into your formal policies for handling such OPRAs. And in a nutshell, when a OPRA request is particularly time intensive, there are 14 factors that go into evaluating whether it meets the criteria in which you can impose fees. They are laid out in Millburn's ordinance. You advise the requestor in advance what the fees will be. So the requester has an opportunity to respond, and then those fees are assessed. It's relatively simple and straightforward in that respect. I think it's a very infrequent occurrence, but it's an important policy to be able to rely on and point to for when those occurrences do arise.
Ryan, I think you hit it on the head. In my experience as well, it's not, that's the exception that you have to apply those special service fees. But in the event we need to, it's important to have that in place so we're not scrambling. And so, and on the flip side, in fairness to the requester who may not recognize that it takes that much time and effort, that's above and beyond the normal.
Precisely. And it also insulates you from any accusations of ad hoc decision making.
And Ryan, just a question, the fees generally apply if the requester is asking for physical paper? In other words, if we find a document and it's emailed to that person, do the fees still apply?
So that's generally true. Documents that, so it can apply. I don't want to rule, being a classic lawyer, I'll never commit to anything, absolutely, you know. But what I'm getting at is, generally speaking, it's exceedingly rare that a document requested in electronic format is going to incur fees. It's not outside the realm of possibility, but it's exceedingly rare. And you're precisely right. The first occasion that I think this has arisen for the SID was when electronic documents were requested to be specifically printed out. And it was a copious amount of paper and ink and human resources to actually print each individual document.
And it was fulfilled, right? Somebody paid a fee and it was.
It absolutely was fulfilled.
Yeah,
That's correct.
okay.
It's a quick question on the town's ordinance. Is there a mechanism to adjust the fees over time, or are they locked in forever?
So what we've done, there's, I think, two components to that question that I'm going to address. This is an ordinance, so the township committee can amend its ordinance at any point in time. Anticipating that in your resolution, we have, my recommendation is to incorporate the ordinance as it may be amended from time to time. So you are adopting the ordinance as it exists today. If next month the law changes, the township's policy changes, whatever the case may be, the township amends that ordinance, you do not need to re-adopt a new resolution. Your resolution here will adopt the current in effect ordinance as it is on the day of the request. Does that address?
Yeah, it does, other than it's still the 5 cents per sheet. We talked last time, you know, it's like $1 for an audio cassette tape. It just feels a little dated to me. So I don't know. It's a township issue.
And there's a
but-
state statute.
So that's where these numbers are state mandated?
So these numbers are informed by a number of different sources and inputs, but yes, there are state statutes that put caps on copying fees and other media fees. There's case law. And
Yeah, 8 millimeter. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Microfiche.
Yeah.
Right, right. Cassettes.
But it does add up. I mean, look, my firm, attorneys' firms were very paper intensive, even as digital as business has been today. And I've done the math, quite frankly, and printing a single sheet of paper on a laserjet printer costs more than a handful of cents.
Yeah.
And that adds up when you're talking about hundreds of thousands of pages.
Right, anybody have any questions for Ryan on this particular topic? Now, if I look on the agenda, do we need to go take a motion to go into closed session for the remainder of the discussion?
That's correct. So the next item under attorney's report is discussion of the closed session minutes. That is in your packet, in the closed session packet. And any discussion of that, my request would be that be taken in closed session for purposes of receiving legal advice.
Well, do we have a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of reviewing the executive session minutes from various meetings?
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Hi.
Do you mind to vote against that?
I didn't vote against it, no.
Jumana,
Yeah.
Jumana, she's gone. Amanda can sign off at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, Amanda, you can sign off for the night. Thank you.
Oh, thanks.
And for anyone else currently on the meeting, will be muted until we resume after.
Do they know? Should they aware?
Yes.
Okay.
We're good? Okay. We've returned. We took a motion to come out of closed session. We're now back in open session. As we discussed, we went into closed to discuss closed session minutes. So now we can, Ryan, I'm leaning on you for the handcrafted resolution to adopt approved minutes.
Certainly. So the chair is calling for a motion to adopt resolution 2022-04 as amended, and those amendments are strictly to the now therefore be it resolved clause. That clause now reads March 9th, 2021 in their entirety. The April 8th, 2021 closed minutes in their entirety and as amended. October 14th, 2021 minutes in their entirety as amended. November 10th, 2021 minutes are approved but withheld entirely for redacted for purposes of legal advice under subsection B7. The December 16th, 2021 minutes as redacted for personnel under subsection B8. January 13th, 2022 minutes in their entirety, and the February 9th, 2022 minutes in their entirety.
So we will take a motion to approve that resolution as adopted and articulated by Mr. Cooper.
Motion.
A second, please.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Richard Wasserman, second from Andrew Morgan. Should we do a roll call on these?
I think that'd be advisable.
Yeah, so let's take a roll call vote on this, please.
Okay, Jumana departed the meeting. Tracy Katz Levine, yes. Andrew Morgan,
Yes.
Michael Parlavecchio.
Yes.
Stephen Weiner,
Yes.
Richard Wasserman.
Yes.
All right, thanks, everybody. Steve, we have other potential action items. Oprah policy we discussed.
You did discuss, you did not take action. So that
No,
is
so we
resolution
need a-
number 2022-05, shown as attachment 8 in your packets. So if you feel comfortable, you can call for a vote.
We have a motion to adopt a policy on special service charges for government records requests, as we discussed earlier in the meeting.
Motion.
And the second,
Second.
motion by Stephen Weiner, second by Richard Wasserman. Roll call, please. Tracy.
Sure, 1 second. Tracy Katz Levine, yes. Andrew Morgan,
Yes.
Michael Parlavecchio.
Yes.
Stephen Weiner.
Yes.
Richard Wasserman.
Yes.
Okay. Flower pot maintenance project, attachment 9.
Thank you, Chairman. So you see in your packets, I have a spreadsheet that shows 30 flower pots, 16 of which we currently own, 14, the remainder that are shown in peach. Those are the former property of the Downtown Management District, the DMDA. As we talked about at our last meeting, the Town Beautification League had approached us about taking over control of all of their planters initially. There seems to have been some miscommunication on their end. When I went back to them and tried to hash this out, they said, well, there are 16 of these large 32-inch planters that you see downtown. Those were part of the Complete Streets model. They would like us to take over control going forward of 14 of those. The 2 that they're going to maintain control of are at the entrance to Taylor Park at Taylor Street, across the street from Splurge.
Bakery.
Pardon me? Splurge Bakery, yes. My sincere apologies to those in the marketing department. So that leaves 14. As you see here, they're listed. I did send out a request to 3 local landscape companies. Only one gave a response. That was Birch Hill, which is located in the SID. They've been doing the majority of our landscaping work as it is. I found them very, very good to work with. Their team is exceptional, quite honestly, and they've been great on some of these larger municipal type projects. These are a little outside the scope of what landscapers are used to, and so they've been really terrific. They have proposed to fill these 14 planters with a blue made holly, which is 3 to 4 feet tall in the center of each planter. So that will be a tree that will be remaining in each of these planters throughout the year. As you guys notice, when you walk downtown, the pots today are completely bare. There's nothing in them. So this will remedy that, so that during the December to May time period, there will at least be something in those planters that will maintain. They're also going to plant some additional flowers in and around, sort of draped down. And then they'll go in and swap them out in the fall for an additional charge if we so choose, really depending on how those flowers hold up during the summer. And the township will water these along with the rest of the planters that we have. That is all part of a DPW request. So the total price is $4,850, which is less than our previous bid because there's less planters. But this also includes the labor that the previous proposal did not. So, based on the significant amount of planting that I do in this town, I think this is a very fair price. I think they're a very reputable company. I also looked at our budget for plantings and other related work. Even with all of the planting that is scheduled, we're still under budget. So my recommendation and request is that we approve this as presented, and the board authorize me to proceed.
Yes. Is this blue made holly, is that an annual or perennial, do you know? Because is that gonna stay
Which is the one that stays, the annual?
the annual?
Yes, it'll stay.
That'll stay.
It will stay. Yes, that was the point.
Annuals
No,
don't
other
stay.
way.
No, perennial.
Perennials
Perennial,
stay.
sorry, perennial.
No technical terms. It'll stay when it's cold. How about that? Yeah, that was the whole point. Was
I don't know
that
that these are staying year to year. I mean, the perennial are things coming back. I don't know that these are gonna stay year after year. You're saying it's gonna make it through the year?
They'll make it postseason.
Well, you cut them down and then they come back.
Come back.
No, it's like an evergreen. It's like a little
Okay.
tree.
Oh,
Oh, it's a
okay, so it is.
Right, so
Oh,
that-
so-
so that'll.
Yeah, it's a
stay.
4 feet tall tree
Okay, so that will.
that'll go in the pot, and then they're gonna plant plants around them. And
Oh,
those plants around them
Will
will
change
die
in
in the
season.
winter.
Yeah, it's just a-
It's a green.
yeah, it's just an evergreen.
Nice,
Well, clearly nobody here took landscaping
Non-deciduous.
classes.
yes.
Non-deciduous tree.
A non-deciduous.
Conifer.
Well, it's an exceptionally hardy, vigorous broadleaf evergreen.
ooh,
Put that in a minute.
that sounds- that sounds
Sorry,
pretty.
it's
Got some
pretty good.
flimsy.
Yeah, so this was the recommendation from the landscaper who has done a lot of work in town, used to maintain these planters, and said, for 5 months out of the year, there's nothing in them, and they just turn into cigarette collection areas.
Yeah,
So I think this will be better. And then we could also decorate them in the winter time, and for Christmas and such.
And Steve, on your chart, these are the 32-inch pots that are in peach.
Yes, in peach. These are the largest ones that you'll see in town. So this is mainly on Millburn Avenue, Main Street, and maybe a handful on Essex.
No, they're heavy.
Oh, they're not moving.
Right.
Yeah, you have to pick them up with
All right, great.
the front end loader. Yeah.
Great, okay,
So do you need a formal approval from
or consensus.
a motion to
Well,
adopt,
except their
Proceed.
to accept the
proposal.
proposal
Spend the
of
money.
the flower pot, right? Authorize Steve to execute
proceed.
this maintenance and proceed with this maintenance project. All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Motion.
Who was the
Oh,
motion?
sorry.
Well, we need a motion, right?
Motion.
Given all that effort, I didn't want to deprive you.
And who's the second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then there's one final housekeeping request. A member of the board has asked if we could move the September 8th meeting to September 15th to accommodate their travel. It's quite a ways from now.
Although it could be me, but that seems okay to me.
Like September 15th.
And I did check for Rosh Hashanah and Yom
Yeah.
I was
Kippur.
just gonna
We
are
ask,
okay.
That's
September
exactly right.
meetings.
Send out.
You will have to renotice.
Oh,
your-
Andrew?
Yes.
I mean, I'll be in Vegas. I leave for Las Vegas that day, so I wouldn't be able to attend on the 15th, if that makes a difference.
That's not the bakery show. There is a show there that we're going to. I don't.
What, when is the new date?
Oh.
September?
So then just keep it.
So should we
it as
just
the
keep it?
eighth,
No,
and I
Then we're
won't
gonna, if
be
we
here.
move it, then we're gonna miss.
Yeah,
Okay.
so let's just keep it the
Yeah.
8th and I won't be here. That's.
Well, way to ruin who it was.
That's right, we're trying to keep it. I guess
All
we'll
right,
have
then
to-
no action needs to be taken.
So, okay, so that's skipped. Any other comments, questions for the good of the order? We'll take a motion to, our next meeting, for notice sake, our next meeting is Thursday, June 9th at 6:30 PM in this room.
And if I could just keep Michael and Tracy, I need you to sign some resolutions.
Okay, otherwise, motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Second. Good.
Andrew's got the second.
Andrew's on it. Good night, everyone.
Good night,
Good night.
everyone.
Good night.